So for those of you that don't know me, I was one of Robert's minions. I got home on Friday last week, just in time to meet the gang at the Beachcomber to have a party blast with Robert. And it was great to look around and see how many people have worked with Robert over the years, from Tony Cunahan and Ray, down to Brandon and Dom, and so many of us in between. And two thoughts automatically popped into my mind. One was that his turnover rate for employees was higher than the Mexicans in East Tennessee where I live. And secondly, I thought about how lucky many of us were to have Robert as a mentor. And I've never met anybody like him, and I'm sure everybody said the same thing. He could do anything and everything. But there were two types of people that worked for Robert. And one of them was the dismal bitches. That was me, Kevin Barry, and many others. But there was another group too that really messed up. And that more often than not included Mike Green and Danny Gillespie and Tim McDonough. And they were the dismal, I won't say it, but it rhymes with trucks. He was not afraid to tell you which one you were at any given time. I can only imagine what he was saying yesterday when one of his brothers sends the American Girl careening off course, and the other one puts his blood all over the casket. I'm sure Dismal wasn't mentioned at that point. For someone that had difficulty learning how to tie their own shoes, I was amazed again at what Robert could do. He truly was a Renaissance man. And I asked him one time, I said, how do you know how to do all this stuff? And he said to me, he said, you know, I don't always know, but I'm not afraid to try. And that was a great life lesson for me, because I learned, don't be afraid to try and speak with enough BS that people are going to believe you. Another life lesson came from Robert, and I got this story from Brian Bolton that wasn't involved, but there was a boat that beached, and Robert was charged to getting it off the shore, and so they hooked up to it, and they were really reefing on it, and the top of the superstructure came flying off the boat and landed in the water. And Robert's response at that point was, well, I guess that's all part of it. And I love that line and use that all the time. You know, it's when you try things as hard as you can and they don't work out, but that's just all part of it. And that was a lesson from Robert. But in addition to his other talents, Robert was also a career coach. I came home one summer after finishing a year of graduate school. I was really floundering, trying to figure out what I was going to do, so I worked for Robert. One evening we were moving the crane barge with the skiff, and he had me on the outboard while he was directing from the barge, and he told me exactly how to lay this up against the dock and what we were going to do, and somehow I messed it up. And so he turns around and he just had this incredulous look on his face and this scowl, and I think he thought that by looking at me hard like that I figured it out, but I didn't. So he yells back to me, he says, "Turn it the other way, you dismal." So we got the barge secured, and it was the end of the day, so we get in his truck and head back to the shop. And he's got both hands on the steering wheel. He didn't even start the car, and he turns and looks over at me, and he says, "You know what? I think you should really consider a white-collar profession." So I said, "Thank you, Robert. You set me on my path to success." And everyone has their Robert stories. And as everybody in this circle will tell you too, he was generous. And when you were in his circle, he would do anything and everything for you. When my mom was dying, we were making funeral plans and wanted to walk from the boat to the dock. And Benny said, you know, the cart in the church is kind of rickety. I'm not sure it's going to make it. So he says, let me call Robert. And so sure enough, Robert builds the cart that's out front and being used today. Just, you know, that day had it there ready to go. And if I've heard it once from Steve, Mike Hendricks yesterday, you know, everybody when they're in need, let's ask Robert about it. And I didn't know how deep his generosity ran until one evening, Lisa and Robert invited us over with some other folks for New Year's Eve, and my dad came along, and we got to sit around that whole evening and listen to my dad and Robert tell stories about the old days, and it was really cool. But Robert related to us at that point how Rita Mae would often have him go out and look after some of the old guys, Stanley Floyd and Benny O'Donnell, when they were particularly hard on the drink. and as they were coming off of the benders, and she knew that they'd be suffering, and so Robert would go and stay with them during that time. And it really impressed me just to hear about how deep his mind for the island went. So it seemed like, in my mind, that Robert got the engineering mind from Jewel, but he got the big heart from Rita. And it seemed like it took Lisa to polish that gem and make it all come together. So rough was his demeanor, but to those that he loved, we all knew better. The only problem we have now is who we're going to call.